Okay, good day class. I am your teacher, Leona. Okay, so in linguistics, speech or indirect is a grammatical mechanism for reporting the context of another without directly quoting it. So we can answer the question, what did he say, in two ways: by repeating the words spoken and by reporting the words spoken. In other words, it is the direct speech and the reported speech or the indirect speech. Now, what is direct speech and indirect speech? Direct speech is when the words are given in exactly the way that the speaker also used inverted commas or quotation marks. So the direct speech is like word by word. And mostly the sentence indirect object are reproduced in speech marks such as quotation marks or inverted commas. So example, I never get up late, my mother said. Second is Lay said, I am going to market. Then she said, I saw him. So as you can see, there are quotation marks and inverted commas. Next is the indirect speech. It is the reporting of what someone else said in your own words but without changing the meaning of what was said. And it usually talks about the past, and inverted commas and quotation marks are not used. So in indirect speech, it gives only the general idea or meaning of what a person said. For example, she said that she had seen him. Lay said that she was going to market. And lastly, my mother said that she never got up late. So as you can see, there are no commas or quotation marks. Now that we discussed about the direct speech and indirect speech, now how to change the direct speech to indirect speech. Okay, so rule number 1. Direct to indirect speech conversation, the reporting verb. When the reporting verb of direct speech is in past tense, then all the present tenses are changed to the corresponding past tense in indirect speech. So she said, I am happy. Then the indirect speech will be, she said she was happy. So in the direct speech, the reporting verb said is past tense. So therefore, in indirect speech, it is changed to corresponding past tense in the indirect speech. Next is in indirect speech, tenses do not change if the words used with the quotes talk of habitual action or universal truth. Example, he said, we cannot live without air. In direct speech, he said that we cannot live without air. Next is the tenses of direct speech do not change if the reporting verb is in the future tense or present tense. So she says or will say, I am going. So it is a future tense or a present tense. So in the indirect speech, she says or she will say she is going. Rule number 2, the present tense. Present perfect changes to past perfect. So the direct speech is a present perfect. I have been to Boston. She told me. And the indirect speech that changes to past perfect is she told me that she had been to Boston. Okay, did you see the difference? The present perfect and the past perfect. Have been to had been. Next is the present continuous changes to past continuous. I am playing the guitar, she explained. So am playing is a present continuous. Now, in the direct speech, it is she explained that she was playing the guitar. Was playing is a past continuous. Next is the present perfect changes to past perfect. He said she has finished her homework. Has finished is present perfect. Then he said that she had finished her homework. Had finished past perfect. Then simple present changes to simple past. I am unwell, she said. I am unwell, she said. So that is a simple present. Then she said that she was unwell. That is a simple past. Now, rule number 3. Past tense and future tense. Simple past changes to past perfect. She said Irvin arrived on Sunday. So it changes to past perfect. She said that Irvin had arrived on Sunday. Past continuous changes to past perfect continuous. We were playing basketball, they told me. So it is a past continuous. Now it changed to past perfect continuous. They told me that they had been playing basketball. Future changes to present conditional. I will be in Scotland tomorrow. That is a future. Then changes to present conditional. She said that she would be in Scotland the next day. So the rule number 2 and number 3 talks about the tense of the verb. Now, if you are familiar or memorize those tenses, you are now able to change the direct speech to indirect speech when it comes to tenses. Next is the future continuous changes to conditional continuous. He said, I'll be disposing of the old computer next Tuesday. Then the conditional continuous, he said that he would be disposing of the old computer the following Tuesday. Next rule is interrogative sentences. No conjunction is used if a sentence in direct speech begins with a question, what, where, when, as the question word itself acts as a joining clause. Where do you live? Asked the boy. Then the indirect speech is the boy inquired where I lived. Next, if a direct speech sentence begins with an auxiliary verb or helping verb, the joining clause should be if or whether. So, she said, will you come for the party? Will is an auxiliary verb. Then the indirect speech, she asked whether we would come for the party. Next is reporting verbs such as said or said to changes to inquired, asked, or demanded. For example, she said to me, what are you wearing? Then the indirect speech, he asked me what I was wearing. Rule number 5, changes in modals. So can becomes could, may becomes might, must become had to or would have to. For example, she said she can dance. So can becomes could. And the indirect speech is she said that she could dance. Another example, she said I may buy a dress. So may becomes might. She said that she might buy a dress. So another example is Rama said I must complete the assignment. So must becomes had to or would have to. Rama said that he had to complete the assignment. So there are modals that do not change, such as could, would, should, might, ought to. So for example, she said I should clean the house. The modal is should and it is not changed. So she said that she should clean the house. Rule number 6, pronouns. The first person indirect speech changes as per the subject of the speech. Example, he said, I am in class 12th. So the indirect speech will be, he says that he was in class 12th. Okay, so the second person of direct speech changes as per the object of reporting speech. Example, she says to them, you have done your work. The indirect speech, she tells them that they have done their work. The third person of direct speech doesn't change. For example, he says, she dances well. So the indirect speech, he says that she dances well. Rule number 7. Requests, command, wish, and exclamation. Indirect speech is supported by some verbs like requested, ordered, suggested, and advised. Forbid, forbade is used for negative sentences. Therefore, the imperative mode in the direct speech changes into the infinitive in indirect speech. Example, she said to her, please complete it. The indirect speech, she requested her to complete it. Another example, Hamid said to Ramid, sit down. The indirect speech, Hamid ordered Ramid to sit down. In exclamatory sentences that express grief, sorrow, happiness, applauds, interjections are removed and the sentence is changed to an assertive sentence. Say example, she said, alas, I am undone. The indirect speech, she exclaimed sadly that she was broke. And the last rule, change of time. In direct speeches, the words that express nearness in time or place are changed to words that express distance in indirect speech, such as now becomes then, here becomes there, ago becomes before, thus becomes so, today becomes that day, tomorrow becomes the next day, this becomes that, yesterday becomes the day before, these become those, come becomes go, next week or month becomes following week or month. Example, he said, his girlfriend came yesterday. The indirect speech, he said that his girlfriend had come the day before. Another example, he says or will say, my girlfriend came yesterday. And the indirect speech, he says or will say that his girlfriend had come the day before. Now that I have discussed the direct speech and indirect speech as well as the rules on how to change direct speech to indirect speech, I hope that you learned a lot from me. Now I have an activity for you to answer. So you will be changing the direct speech into direct speech. Okay, so first, she said, I have baked a cake. So what is your answer? Let's see. So the indirect speech, she said that she had baked a cake. Did you get it right? Okay, very good. Next, the policeman said, where are the weapons? So this is an interrogative sentences. So what will be the indirect speech? Okay, let's see. So the indirect speech, the policeman inquired, where were the weapons? Did you get it right? Very good. Now I hope you understand and learn a lot from me. Thank you for listening. Goodbye, class.